4 behaviors of people who don't value you. People who don't value you will always reveal themselves through their behavior. You just have to stop making excuses for them. The first thing you'll notice is that they only show up when it's convenient for them. They treat your time and energy like it's optional, appearing when they need something and disappearing when it's your turn to lean on them. That's not connection, that's convenience. Real respect is consistent, not conditional. Then you'll see how they dismiss your feelings. They make you feel like you're too sensitive or too much when all you're doing is expressing yourself. That's not honesty, that's emotional dismissal. People who value you will listen. Those who don't will silence you to keep control. And then pay attention to how they react to your success. Do they support you or do they compete with you? People who don't value you will always try to one-up you, downplay your wins, or pretend your achievements are no big deal. They see your strength as a threat, not an inspiration. When someone can't clap for you, it's because they fear your growth will expose their own stagnation. Another sign is imbalance. They take without giving back. You're the one always showing up, always forgiving, always trying to make it work, while they offer excuses instead of effort. Love and loyalty should never be one-sided. If you're the only one pouring, eventually you'll run dry. The final and most toxic behavior is subtle. They make you doubt yourself. It's in the little jabs, the sarcasm, the way they question your choices until you start questioning your own worth. That's emotional erosion, not love. People who don't value you want you small, insecure, and dependent because confident people are harder to control. But the truth is this. Once you stop seeking validation from those who devalue you, you become untouchable. The moment you walk away from anyone who makes you feel unworthy, you don't lose them, you find yourself. Value is not something you beg for, it's something you demand through self-respect. And when you finally understand your worth, you'll stop chasing people who never deserved access to you in the first place. Behaviors of people who don't value you, recognize them before it's too late. There comes a point in your life when you realize not everyone who stands beside you is standing for you. Some people simply don't value you not because you aren't worthy, but because they don't know how to value anyone they can't control, use, or benefit from. Their behavior tells you everything. You don't need to chase clarity through words. You'll see it in how they treat you, how they prioritize you, and how they respond when you stop giving. Let's talk about the 4 clear behaviors of people who don't value you, the ones who drain your energy, test your patience, and make you question your worth. Once you recognize these patterns, you'll stop fighting for places that were never meant to hold your peace. The first behavior is inconsistency. These people show up when it suits them. When they need advice, comfort, money, or attention, suddenly they're all ears and heart. But when the situation flips, when you need someone, they vanish without a trace. They'll justify it with excuses. I've been busy. You know how things are. Or don't take it personally. But you should take it personally, not as a reflection of your value, but as evidence of theirs. A person who values you makes time for you. You should never have to beg for someone's consistency. Remember this: if someone truly cares, you won't need to question where you stand. People who value you will show up, even when it's inconvenient. People who don't will only show up when it benefits them. The second behavior is emotional invalidation. These are the people who make you feel like your feelings don't matter. They'll tell you you're overreacting, too emotional, too dramatic, anything to dismiss your truth. What they're really doing is avoiding accountability. By making you question your feelings, they maintain control. They twist your emotions until you start apologizing for simply existing. Healthy people listen, they empathize, they try to understand. But people who don't value you see your emotions as interruptions, not invitations to connect. They'll call your boundaries attitude, they'll label your confidence ego, and they'll call your honesty disrespect. The more you shrink yourself to keep them comfortable, the more they'll take from you. Emotional invalidation is subtle, but it's powerful because it teaches you to silence yourself to keep the peace. Never allow anyone to convince you that your voice doesn't deserve to be heard. The third behavior is competition instead of support. You'll notice these people can't be happy for you without comparing themselves. The moment you share good news, they'll shift the focus back to them. That's nice, but guess what I did? They'll pretend to cheer for you, but underneath that smile is resentment. They'll downplay your achievements or act like they could have done better. It's not confidence, it's insecurity dressed up as arrogance. People who value you don't compete with you, they celebrate you. They see your growth as a reflection of what's possible, not as a threat to their ego. Those who don't value you can't handle your light, so they'll try to dim it. They'll gossip, criticize, or create drama just to pull attention away from your success. But here's the truth, your light will always expose their shadows. You can't make small-minded people feel comfortable with your greatness, so stop explaining, stop shrinking, and stop seeking approval from those who secretly wish to see you fail. The fourth behavior is taking without giving. These people are experts in emotional withdrawal. They'll accept your love, attention, and energy, but they'll never pour back into you. They'll let you invest everything while they contribute the bare minimum. You'll find yourself constantly giving second chances, forgiving broken promises and hoping they'll finally change. But they won't, because they don't value what they don't earn. When someone values you, they meet you halfway. When they don't, they'll keep taking as long as you allow it. This kind of imbalance slowly empties you. You start feeling exhausted, anxious, and unseen. And that's the goal, because people who don't value you want you drained enough to accept crumbs. But the moment you stop overextending, the moment you stop explaining, and the moment you walk away, they'll panic. Not because they lost you, but because they lost control. And there's one more thing: people who don't value you will make you doubt yourself. That's their most dangerous weapon. They'll criticize you in small doses, plant seeds of self-doubt, and act like they're just being honest. But that's not honesty, that's manipulation. They'll make you feel like you're never enough, so you keep trying harder to earn their approval. But no matter what you do, they'll keep moving the goalpost. That's because their goal isn't connection, it's control. Once you see that, you stop playing their game. You stop chasing closure. You stop explaining your worth to people who have already decided to misunderstand it. Here's the truth. People who value you will make you feel safe, seen, and respected. They'll be consistent, they'll communicate, and they'll show appreciation. Those who don't will make you feel anxious, confused, and unworthy. Your energy, your peace, your time, these are your most valuable currencies. Stop spending them on people who can't afford your loyalty. The moment you walk away from those who don't value you, you create space for those who will. Value isn't something you beg for, it's something you embody. You don't need to prove your worth to anyone. You just need to start treating yourself like you matter, because once you do, the world has no choice but to follow your lead. When people start to lose respect for you, the subtle signs you're ignoring. Respect isn't something you demand once and keep forever, it's something you maintain through boundaries, consistency, and self-worth. But when people start losing respect for you, it doesn't happen overnight. It starts quietly, in small ways that you often ignore because you don't want to seem harsh or dramatic. You justify their behavior, you tell yourself it's not a big deal, and before you know it, the dynamic shifts. They start taking you for granted. The truth is, when people lose respect for you, it's not always about what they do, it's often about what you allow. Let's talk about the behaviors that show when respect starts to fade, and how you can reclaim it before it's gone. The first sign people are losing respect for you is they stop taking your words seriously. They start interrupting you, ignoring your opinions, or brushing off your boundaries with a laugh. It's the friend who says, "Relax, you're too uptight," after you've clearly said no. It's the coworker who talks over you in meetings. It's the partner who promises to change but never follows through. When this happens, you might try harder to be heard, explaining yourself again and again, thinking that if you communicate better, they'll understand. But that's the trap. When someone values you, they don't need endless explanations, they listen the first time. The moment people realize you'll keep repeating yourself without enforcing consequences, they stop respecting your words. Remember, a boundary without enforcement is just a suggestion. The second sign is they begin to test your limits. They'll push to see how far they can go before you push back. They'll cancel plans last minute, make jokes at your expense, or forget the things that matter to you. At first, it might seem harmless, a missed call, a sarcastic comment, but it's actually a test. They're watching to see your reaction. If you let it slide once, it becomes permission. And once you start tolerating disrespect, it becomes your new normal. This is why boundaries aren't about controlling others, they're about teaching people how to treat you. When you allow someone to cross your lines without consequence, you're silently agreeing to disrespect yourself. The truth is, people treat you based on what you tolerate, not what you deserve. The third sign is they become comfortable taking you for granted. You'll notice it in small things. First, the lack of gratitude, the expectation that you'll always be there. They start assuming your time, your kindness, your forgiveness. They know you'll pick up the slack, that you'll always say yes, that you'll understand even when they don't deserve it. This dynamic is dangerous because it makes you believe you need to keep giving in order to be valued. But the more you give without reciprocity, the more they stop valuing your effort. Respect dies slowly in one-sided relationships. When someone values you, they don't just take from you, they give back, they acknowledge you, and they show appreciation. The moment someone starts acting like your effort is owed instead of earned, you're no longer being respected, you're being used. The fourth sign is they stop being considerate of your time and energy. They'll show up late, cancel without notice, or expect you to adjust to their schedule while never meeting you halfway. They'll drain your energy and then call you difficult when you set limits. People who respect you value your time because they understand it's a reflection of your self-worth. The more you allow others to disregard your time, the more they assume your life revolves around theirs. And here's the truth, when you start valuing your time, you'll start losing people who wasted it. That's not a loss, that's a filter. And finally, the most subtle yet powerful sign, they stop fearing losing you. When someone stops respecting you, they act like no matter what they do, you'll stay. That's when they start crossing lines they never would have before. They become careless with your emotions because deep down, they don't believe you'll walk away. That's why the strongest thing you can ever do is leave when respect leaves the room. When people see that you won't abandon yourself to keep them comfortable, they either step up or step out. Either outcome is a win. The hard truth is, people don't just wake up one day and stop respecting you, they gradually stop when they realize you won't respect yourself enough to stop them. You can't control other people's behavior, but you can control your response. You can stop explaining your boundaries and start enforcing them. You can stop proving your worth and start protecting it. Every time you stay silent when you should speak, every time you overgive to someone who undervalues you, you teach them that your kindness is unconditional even when it hurts you. But the moment you choose self-respect over people pleasing, everything changes. The tone of your relationships changes, the energy you attract changes, and the way people treat you changes because you've changed. Respect is built through repetition, not words, but actions. It's built when you say no and mean it, when you hold your standards even when it's uncomfortable, when you stop chasing after those who ignore your value. You don't need to yell, threaten, or prove anything. The quiet confidence of a person who knows their worth is enough to command respect without ever asking for it. So, if people around you have started to lose respect for you, pause and ask yourself, where did I stop respecting myself? Because the moment you realign with your own value, the world around you adjusts to match it. Respect isn't requested, it's required. And once you start requiring it, you'll stop settling for anything less. When they see you don't need them, everything changes. There's a powerful shift that happens the moment people realize you no longer need them. The energy changes, the conversations change, the dynamic changes. You start to see their true colors because dependency hides truth, but independence exposes it. When people sense that your happiness, confidence, and peace no longer depend on their approval or presence, they either start respecting you more or they start resenting you. Either way, you win, because when you stop needing people, you stop being controlled by them. And that's when you start living in your full power, calm, unbothered, and self-assured. The first thing that happens when people see you don't need them is they get uncomfortable. They're used to being in control, to feeling important, to knowing that your emotions rise and fall with their behavior. When you detach from that, when you stop reacting, stop chasing, and stop explaining, they lose their sense of power. Some will get distant, others will test you, trying to provoke a reaction just to confirm they still matter. But when you've truly outgrown that need for validation, you respond with silence, not emotion. You're not ignoring them out of spite, you've just learned to protect your peace. That kind of calm drives manipulative people insane because they can't manipulate what doesn't need them. You no longer crave their attention, you crave your own peace. The second shift is they start questioning your change. They'll say things like, "You've changed," or "You're acting different lately." What they really mean is, you're no longer easy to control. When you stop people pleasing, they interpret your self-respect as arrogance. When you stop overgiving, they call you selfish. When you stop tolerating disrespect, they call you difficult. But don't let that guilt trip pull you back. People who truly value you will never be threatened by your independence. They'll be proud of your growth. Those who were only comfortable when you were small will always criticize your evolution. Your job isn't to explain your change, it's to embody it. Growth doesn't require permission. It requires discipline. The third thing that happens when people see you don't need them is they start to respect you differently. Even the ones who used to take you for granted suddenly become cautious. They sense that your energy has boundaries now. You no longer chase, over-apologize, or beg for attention. You've built a kind of quiet strength, the kind that speaks without words. When you stop needing people, you become more magnetic because your energy shifts from desperation to dignity. People respect what they can't control. They pay attention to what feels grounded. That's why detachment isn't about not caring. It's about caring without losing yourself. You still love, but you love consciously. You still give, but you give wisely. You no longer pour from an empty cup. Another thing that happens is you start seeing who is really there for you. When you stop over-functioning in relationships, you begin to see the imbalance clearly. Some people disappear the moment they realize they can't use you anymore. Others will pull away because they were only around for the version of you that needed them. But here's the blessing: when people walk away from your strength, it means their connection was never rooted in respect, only convenience. You're not losing them, you're losing the version of you who depended on them to feel whole. Real relationships are built on choice, not need. The ones who stay after you've grown, those are your people. They don't need to be needed, they just want to be part of your peace. The next transformation happens within you. You start trusting yourself again. When you detach from needing people's approval, you start hearing your own voice more clearly. You realize how many of your past choices were driven by fear of being alone, fear of rejection, fear of disappointing others. But once you stop needing people to validate you, you stop living in fear altogether. You stop seeking permission to rest, to say no, to walk away. You stop apologizing for having standards, and you realize something profound: being alone doesn't mean being lonely. It means being free. You start enjoying your own company, prioritizing your own peace, and nurturing your own energy. That's where real self-confidence begins, not in being loved by others, but in being at peace with yourself. And finally, when people see you don't need them, they realize your worth often too late. The same people who once overlooked you suddenly remember how kind, patient, and loyal you were. They start reaching out, testing if your boundaries are still firm. But by then, you've changed. You've outgrown the old version of yourself that tolerated inconsistency and begged for attention. Now, you're operating from self-respect. You don't chase, you choose. You don't wait, you walk away. You don't explain, you observe, and that energy speaks louder than any confrontation. People start realizing that your silence carries more weight than your words ever did. That's the moment you reclaim your power. The truth is, needing people isn't the problem, depending on the wrong ones is. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, not emotional dependency. When you learn to stand on your own, you stop bending just to keep others comfortable. You stop begging for love that costs your peace. You stop lowering your standards just to belong. Detachment isn't about coldness, it's about clarity. It's knowing that you can care deeply without clinging, love openly without losing yourself, and walk away peacefully when respect fades. So if you've noticed that people treat you differently now that you don't need them, don't see it as a loss, see it as confirmation. You've evolved, you've reclaimed your power, and you've stepped into a version of yourself that no longer runs on external validation. Because the truth is simple, when you no longer need people, you attract better ones. When you no longer chase love, you attract respect. And when you finally realize your worth, you stop settling for anything less than peace. That's not pride, that's power. Toxic people want to see you weak. Show them you're unbeatable. Toxic people thrive on control. They feed on your insecurities, your doubts, and your emotional reactions. Their power exists only when you're uncertain about your own. The moment they see weakness, when you start second, guessing yourself, apologizing for existing, or begging for validation, they tighten their grip. That's how toxic people operate. They drain your confidence so they can dominate your peace. But here's the truth: the second you stop feeding their need for control, they lose all of their power. The moment you decide that no one can make you feel small without your permission, you become untouchable. The key isn't to fight them, it's to rise above them. Because nothing terrifies a toxic person more than someone they can't manipulate. The first thing to understand is this: toxic people are attracted to strength they think they can weaken. They see your kindness, your empathy, your drive, and instead of being inspired, they see an opportunity to exploit. They'll pretend to admire you while secretly planning to chip away at your confidence. They'll criticize you subtly, a sarcastic comment here, a backhanded compliment there, until you start questioning yourself. That's their game: control through confusion. They want you doubting your worth because the weaker you feel, the easier you are to control. But the moment you recognize the pattern, the spell breaks. Every time they try to tear you down, remind yourself their words are projections, not truths. People who are secure don't need to belittle others. Those who try to break you only reveal how broken they already are. The second thing toxic people do is use your emotions against you. They study what triggers you: your compassion, your loyalty, your desire to fix things, and they weaponize it. When you speak up, they'll call you too emotional. When you draw a boundary, they'll call you cold. When you stop tolerating disrespect, they'll paint you as the problem. It's emotional warfare disguised as misunderstanding. The more you try to defend yourself, the deeper they drag you into their chaos. That's why the strongest response to toxicity is emotional detachment. You don't argue, you don't explain, you don't react. You simply stop engaging. Silence is your greatest defense because toxic people crave chaos and your calm kills their control. They can't manipulate what doesn't respond. The third thing toxic people want is for you to doubt your own power. They'll compare you to others, mock your dreams, and highlight your flaws, all to make you feel small. They'll try to make you believe that you're not smart enough, strong enough, or worthy enough. Because once you start believing that, you'll seek their approval to feel worthy again. That's the trap. The truth is, they only attack what threatens them. Your confidence intimidates them. Your boundaries offend them. Your silence confuses them. The moment you stop needing their approval, you become unstoppable. Confidence is not arrogance, it's the quiet certainty that you deserve respect, peace, and happiness. And when you carry that kind of certainty, toxic people can't handle it. You no longer fit into the version of you they could manipulate, and that's when they start to fall apart. The next thing toxic people do is play the victim. They twist every situation so you end up apologizing for the very things they caused. They'll hurt you, then make you feel guilty for being hurt. They'll disrespect you, then say you're overreacting. They rewrite the story until they look innocent and you look unstable. But once you stop explaining your side of the story, they lose that weapon too. You don't owe toxic people closure, understanding, or forgiveness. You owe yourself peace. When they play the victim, let them. The truth doesn't need defending. Protect your peace by withdrawing your energy. You can't win an argument with someone who thrives on distortion. The real victory is walking away with your integrity intact. Another tactic toxic people use is to isolate you from your strength. They want you disconnected from your support system, from your goals, from your sense of self. They'll make you feel like no one else understands you but them. That's how they tighten control through isolation and dependency. But the moment you reconnect with yourself, your passions, your boundaries, your community, their hold starts to crumble. Strength doesn't always mean fighting back. Sometimes it means quietly rebuilding your confidence piece by piece until you no longer need their validation. Toxic people can't stand to see you happy without them. That's why healing in silence is your loudest revenge. The final truth is this: toxic people want to see you weak because your weakness protects their illusion of power. But the moment you choose strength, they lose their significance. You stop dancing to their manipulation. You stop responding to their chaos. And you stop explaining your worth to people who have already decided to misunderstand it. Strength doesn't mean shouting or proving anything. It means being so grounded in who you are that their noise no longer shakes you. You start setting boundaries not out of anger, but out of clarity. You start saying no without guilt and yes without fear. You start realizing that you were never too emotional, too sensitive, or too demanding. You were just surrounded by people who couldn't meet you where you were. And here's the beautiful irony: the moment you show toxic people that you're unbeatable, they start to fade. They can't feed off your energy anymore because you're no longer reacting. They can't control your emotions because you've built emotional intelligence. They can't make you feel worthless because you've learned your worth from within. You become untouchable not because you don't care, but because you finally care about the right things: your peace, your purpose, and your power. So when toxic people try to tear you down, let them talk. Let them gossip. Let them project. Your job isn't to convince them of your value, it's to continue being everything they said you couldn't be. Keep rising, keep evolving, keep shining. Because the truth is, they want to see you weak, but the greatest revenge is living strong, calm, and unbothered. They can't destroy what doesn't depend on them. And once you realize that, you stop fighting for their respect and start walking in your own. That's what makes you unbeatable. If someone uses your past against you, say this, and take your power back. There's a special kind of cruelty in people who use your past against you. They don't bring it up to understand you, they bring it up to control you. These are the people who, instead of acknowledging your growth, try to remind you of your worst moments. They'll drag your mistakes into every argument, twist your past choices into present guilt, and use your vulnerability as ammunition. Why? Because when they can't handle the person you've become, they'll try to reduce you to the person you used to be. But here's what you must understand: your past is not a weapon unless you hand it to them. You can take back your power the moment you stop apologizing for the version of yourself that no longer exists. The first thing you need to realize is that people who use your past against you do it because they fear your growth. Growth makes insecure people uncomfortable. They can't stand seeing you evolve beyond the limits they placed on you. When you start healing, they lose control. When you start setting boundaries, they panic. So they reach for the one thing they can use: your history. They'll bring up your mistakes, your pain, your failures, just to make you feel small again. But understand this: your past is proof that you survived, not evidence that you should be ashamed. You don't need to defend who you were. You've already become someone stronger. Every version of you led to the one standing here now, wiser, tougher, more self-aware. You owe no one an explanation for your evolution. The second truth is that your past doesn't define you, it refines you. The only people who hold your past against you are the ones who have nothing new to say about your present. They cling to the old stories because your current strength exposes their weakness. When someone tries to weaponize your past, what they're really saying is, "I'm threatened by who you've become." So instead of reacting with shame or anger, respond with power. "Yes, that was me and I've grown." There's no greater strength than owning your story. When you stop hiding from your past, no one can use it against you. The things you once thought disqualified you are now the things that make you authentic. You've been through pain that taught you resilience, made mistakes that taught you wisdom, and faced struggles that built your character. That's not weakness, that's evolution. The third thing to remember is you don't owe anyone your guilt. Some people keep reminding you of your past because they can't forgive themselves for still being stuck in theirs. They need you to stay the same so they don't have to face their own stagnation. They'll use manipulation to drag you back down, subtle comments, emotional guilt, or even jokes disguised as reminders. But you don't have to explain your healing to those who choose not to heal. When someone throws your past at you, stay calm and grounded. Look them in the eye, figuratively or literally, and say, "I've learned from that. I'm not who I was." Don't argue, don't defend, just state your truth with quiet confidence, because the person who refuses to be defined by their past becomes unstoppable. Another important truth is you have every right to outgrow people who only remember your old chapters. Some people will never see you differently because doing so would require them to grow too, and not everyone's ready for that. You'll notice they keep bringing up who you used to be because it's easier than facing who you are now. Don't let their limited perception trap you. You're not obligated to keep living in a version of your life you've already outgrown just to make them comfortable. Outgrowing people doesn't mean you're better than them, it means you've finally chosen peace over patterns. You can forgive people and still walk away from them. You can understand their pain and still protect your energy. Let them talk. Your transformation speaks louder. And finally, understand this: your power lies in your response. When someone uses your past against you, they want you to react emotionally. They want you to feel ashamed, defensive, or broken. That's how they regain control, but your calmness is your victory. When you no longer react, they lose access to your emotions. The best thing you can say is simple and powerful. "That's who I was. This is who I am now." Then move forward. No justifications, no explanations. Because people who truly respect you will never use your pain as leverage. They'll honor your growth and help you continue evolving. The rest, they don't deserve access to your healed self. You see, everyone has a past. Everyone has made mistakes, trusted the wrong people, stayed too long, or believed in the wrong things. But your past is not a prison, it's a lesson. The only shame lies in refusing to grow, not in having fallen before. Every scar you carry is proof that you got back up, and the people who mock your scars are usually the ones still bleeding from their own wounds. Don't internalize their judgment. Let them think what they want. Your progress doesn't require their understanding. So the next time someone tries to use your past to hurt you, don't argue, don't explain. Just stand firm in your truth and say, "You're talking about someone I used to be. I'm not that person anymore." Because when you say that with conviction, you take your power back. You remind them and yourself that you are not defined by what you've been through, but by how you've risen from it. You are living proof that redemption is real, that growth is possible, and that no one gets to rewrite your story except you. The people who matter won't use your past as a weapon, they'll see it as evidence of your strength. They'll admire how far you've come, not criticize where you've been. So don't hide your journey, wear it like armor. Let your story remind others that healing is possible, because in the end, the ones who try to use your past against you will stay trapped in theirs while you, unapologetically, keep moving forward. That's real power, not needing anyone's permission to evolve. and never allowing anyone to drag you back into the person you've already outgrown.